Well, the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has arrived in China for a 6-day visit where he'll meet with President Xi Jinping and hold talks with China's Premier. Global Affairs Editor Laura Tingle joins us now from Shanghai. Very good morning to you, Laura.
Good morning, Kath. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Now, trade and tourism are on the cards, obviously, but what do you think Mr Albanese is looking to advance on this trip? What will make it look like a success?
I think what will make it look like a success, Kath, is just reinforcing that point that China is our biggest trading partner. I mean, we've had a decade of discussions about, China as a national security risk. The relationship has been re-established on better terms. And I think going into this extraordinary period in global affairs where the US is throwing sort of trade bombs all over the place and starting trade wars, I think that sort of sense of some basic stability in the trade relationship being re-established is really important.
You mentioned trade there, $300 billion worth, or it's in excess of that each year. It's our biggest trading partner. Do you expect we'll see some announceables, or is this more just about the relationship?
Well, I think it's probably both, Kath. From the Australian end, clearly, they're pushing the trade issues, and this morning the PM will visit a site that's associated with tourism, which has become a huge industry for Australia out of China. But there obviously are other issues that are running around. The Chinese would like us to ease our foreign investment rules. Australia said no, that's not going to happen. So there's a lot of other bits and pieces going on, and of course it's against the background of Taiwan having the biggest ever military exercises as we speak. We've got Talisman Sabre exercises with the US in Australia, and despite all the good talk about friendly relationships, the US is sort of ramping up the pressure on Australia and Japan and other allies about what we would do about a war in Taiwan. And whether we would sort of join the US if it sought to defend Taiwan.
The Prime Minister seems keen to redefine this relationship between the two countries, saying that it goes beyond barley and beef, which he's had success in those tariffs in recent months. Tourism, another key agenda. You mentioned their tourism numbers aren't quite back to what they were pre-COVID. But when it comes to national security, which you've touched on there, we know that is going to be a high priority for the government. But how do you expect him to progress those conversations, particularly in light of those comments from the Foreign Minister on Friday, comments and concerns about China's live fire exercise? What do you think the strategy was behind that?
Well, I think clearly Australia's been changing its position towards both the US and China, trying to sort of carve out a little bit of space of independence in the last couple of weeks. I think Penny Wong's speech and her subsequent comments sort of smacked me of the good cop, bad cop approach. I mean, she's sort of said that she's said all the stern things to China about live fire exercises, the circumnavigation of Australia, an Australian held as a political prisoner in China, and that's sort of left all the smooth panda hugging for the Prime Minister while he's here. I mean, it really reminds me, Kath, of some of those trips in the 80s and 90s by our former Prime Ministers where everything seemed on the up with the China relationship.
So you think that this trip is a little bit more about soft diplomacy? Because, as you just mentioned there, the Foreign Minister Penny Wong has laid the groundwork on those more contentious issues.
Very soft diplomacy, I think, Kath. It's about investment, it's about tourism, it's about trade, and it's about the fact that despite the fact we've got differences, we have this extraordinarily large economic relationship which continues to prosper.
And just finally, there is a lot being made, a lot of narratives around the meetings that are being had with the Australian Prime Minister, or the ones that aren't being had with his international counterparts. We know that he wasn't able to secure one at the he secured one at the G7, but that was cancelled by President Trump because he needed to return home because of the developments in the Middle East. This is now, he's had more than one meeting with the President of China. What is going to be made of these meetings that he's having?
Well, people will always make something of them as they see fit, I think, Kath. But I mean, the bottom line is that it's not like we're not trying to meet with President Trump, or the Prime Minister isn't. And considering that the relationship was in such bad state with China just a couple of years ago, I don't think we should really be saying, oh, it's somehow bad that we're having all of these meetings. It's always good that we can talk to our biggest trading partner.